We are now ready to begin the proceedings of the webinar. As we all know, World Water Week at Home is bringing together convener-hosted virtual adaptation of sessions on water and climate change, originally destined for World Water Week 2020. On behalf of Government of Tamil Nadu, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and Indian Institute for Human Settlements India, we would like to sincerely thank Stockholm International Water Institute for giving us this opportunity to host a virtual adaptation of our approved session on operationalizing fecal sludge management at scale, approaches and learning from Tamil Nadu. Now, my colleague Santosh Raghavan, who is co-leading Tamil Nadu Urban Sanitation Support Program, will introduce our panelists and share the details about today's webinar.
Thank you very much, Sirmala, and I welcome all the participants for this webinar. So I will quickly try and set the context on what we are trying to do today. So we are trying to showcase the operationalizing of FSM, a story of 5 years of work which the state of Tamil Nadu has done. So Tamil Nadu is a South Indian state. So basically, it's part of the South Asia. So what we're trying to do today is try and understand how the operationalization, the scaling up has happened. So when we're talking about FSM, what we're trying to say is it's kind of referred in different ways. One is, of course, septage management. It's the other familiar term. And second is, broadly, it refers to on-site sanitation with basically it is a non-networked sanitation system. So that's the broad definition. And we'll be focusing our discussions around this. The Tamil Nadu's journey began with the government's vision to ensure that we should have safe sanitation for all and for now. So that there's an urgency. So in 2015, the government reached out for assistance to implement FSM across the state. So a consortia of organization which formed a technical support unit to the Tamil Nadu government with backing from GET Foundation supported the Tamil Nadu Urban Sanitation Support Program, which is popularly known as TNU SSP. So now for this to kind of launch and then kind of consolidate, so basically there were no precedents to do things at this scale. So, and also there were kind of limitations within the government systems also. So one is there was a need for strong commitment at the highest level from the government. So Tamil Nadu, in a way, had set up an advisory committee. So that is chaired by one of the panelists today we have, Mr. Harminder Singh. So in a way, the advisory committee pushed and accelerated the scaling process. So that's the thing. And I would like to quickly introduce the panelists today. So Harminder Singh. So he's an IS officer and he's currently the additional chief secretary to the government of Tamil Nadu, and he leads the MAS department, Municipal Administration and Water Supply Department. And he has held several key positions in the past, also leading some of the urban local bodies and also several departments such as industry, sericulture, textile and commerce. And the second panelist is Ms. Madhu Krishna. She's the deputy director and she's part of the Global Growth and Opportunity Division. And she leads the foundation's initiative on water, sanitation, and hygiene. And she's been overseeing work across 5 focus states in India. And also she's working with 40 implementing partners. Her key areas of interest is in the gender and social and economic equity. So we'll hear more from her. And also along with that, we have the team leader of Tamil Nadu Urban Sanitation Support Program, Kavita Vankade. She is with IHS, Indian Institute for Human Settlements, which is a national education institution committed to equitable, sustainable, and efficient transformation of the Indian settlements. Currently, she leads the water and sanitation portfolio. And one of the key programs under this is the TNU SSP, which is kind of supporting the scaling up of Tamil Nadu urban sanitation. So that's the key thing that she's doing. And also with the training in urban design and planning, so she has worked across multiple cities and sectors with a focus on service delivery. So that's the broad introduction to the panels. And also I'll quickly introduce what we're going to do. So the agenda for today. So we'll start with a very brief video, which will provide an overview of what we have done till date. And then this will be followed by a brief presentation on how this was done. And then we can have a moderated discussion with our eminent panelists. And then this will be followed by the question and answer session. So between these sessions, we will also keep interacting with the audience by asking a few questions. And also we would request you to kind of respond to that. And we will keep the Q&A in the end. So now I request Tirumala to kind of set the ground rules, and also we can start the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Santosh. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation and panel discussion, please type them into the question box or chat box. We will bring them after the panel discussion. There is a separate Q&A session where participants can raise their questions. Now, we will begin this webinar with a short film on the approach to scaling up management across Tamil Nadu.
With over 24 million residents across 663 metropolitan cities, medium and small towns, Tamil Nadu has a high urban population. Around 70% of this population relies on on-site sanitation systems. The government of Tamil Nadu envisaged total sanitation for all in its Vision 2023. To achieve this, fecal sludge management was seen as a viable method to scale sanitation quickly, both as a complement to networked sanitation in metropolitan cities and also as a standalone solution for small and medium towns. This led to the launch of the operative guidelines for septage management in 2014. The guidelines built on Tamil Nadu's strengths across the full cycle of sanitation, one of which is the presence of private desludging operators across the state. To ensure these operators dispose of waste safely, the establishment of adequate treatment facilities across the state was recognized as a critical first step towards scaling FSM. This led to the creation of the State Investment Plan. The plan ensures scaling in a phased manner and is underpinned by two core principles: the saturation of existing treatment facilities through co-treatment of sewage and septage, and the adoption of a cluster approach. Currently, co-treatment is being enabled at more than 50 STPs across the state. This is being done by upgrading or providing decanting facilities with minimal capital investments. As part of its investment plan, the government allocated $30 million to construct 61 FSTPs in areas without existing treatment facilities. The FSTPs are simple to construct and operate and are being implemented through rigorous quality assurance mechanisms and digital monitoring support. Through the cluster approach, the 61 upcoming FSTPs and 50 STPs will serve a total urban population of nearly 14 million across 192 towns. This unique approach to scaling FSM is also being adopted by other states in India. Once operational, the facilities will be shared by clusters to ensure resource and cost sharing among multiple local bodies. This will be enabled by a memorandum of understanding between them. To sustain the use of treatment facilities and strengthen the existing private sector desludging market, a light touch regulation model is being adopted. This includes licensing desludging operators through a standardized system across the state. To successfully operationalize FSM, the government of Tamil Nadu is engaging with stakeholders across the full cycle of sanitation through capacity building and enterprise strengthening activities. With specific emphasis on vulnerable stakeholders, various initiatives are being undertaken to ensure inclusion, improved welfare, and empowerment. Through behavior change campaigns targeted at citizens of Tamil Nadu, a sense of responsibility towards sanitation is being created. These campaigns are bringing FSM to the fore and helping its most critical stakeholders embrace septage management. This is the story of scaling FSM in Tamil Nadu.
Now we have a short presentation which is built on the context set by the film by Srinidhi, Specialist Governance from IIHS.
Vanakkam and warm welcome to one and all. So I'm Srinidhi Sudhakar, and building on the context set by the film, I will be detailing the approaches adopted to scale fecal sludge management or FSM in Tamil Nadu. So as you can see on the slide, when the Tamil Nadu Urban Sanitation Support Program, or TNUSSP as we commonly call it, was launched in 2015, the government strategy was to create fecal sludge management demonstration sites and also simultaneously scale up these FSM interventions across the state. So while we intensively started working in two different typologies of cities, which you can see on the screen, Trichy, PNP and NNP, we were also very clear that these were not to be limited to just pilots, but learnings from these were to be quickly translated into a state level action plan. So for these demonstration sites to be scaled up across the state, government commitment was very important. And also considering FSM was a new field with no precedence, and also sometimes with limited buy-in within government systems, an advisory committee was set up, and government supported us in taking quick decisions to scale FSM. And these committees can, as you can see on the screen, were mirrored both at the state level and also at the ULB level. So now, since we made our point on scaling and government support, we will now look at what were the key approaches adopted by the state, which helped Tamil Nadu to scale FSM very quickly. First is we did not want to spend energy on creating new infrastructure, but mainly we wanted to utilize whatever existing infrastructure is there, and also we wanted to improve their performance. So for example, the existing Surat pumping stations already had the essential infrastructure and also the staffing capacity. So these were utilized as fecal sludge receiving facilities. And additionally, of course, like mentioned in the film, we did construct 51 new fecal sludge treatment plants or FSTPs. But one of the key challenges with respect to this was land requirements for these facilities. There was a problem of not in my backyard or NIMBY issue, which we faced in our demonstration sites. And we've also heard the same from other states as well. Hence, learning from this experience, we decided to co-locate all our fecal sludge treatment plants in the existing functional solid waste management sites in the state. Finally, given that fecal sludge management is a new area, the technology was also new and the private sector market was also very nascent. So any design and implementation that we created was very simple, and we made sure we standardized this into templates so that it can be easily picked up by others. So as FSTPs were being constructed across the state, another important point is ensuring quality while scaling. So as you can see on the screen, we've also created IT-enabled tools for monitoring, which assured quality assurance of these facilities. So all these innovations, namely co-treatment or co-location or standardized templates and also quality assurance tools, have been picked up at the national level, and they are also being recommended for adoption in other states across India. So that was about treatment and technology. Now coming to regulation, one of the key feature of the Tamil Nadu model is the cluster approach, which was already explained in the film, where a cluster of ULBs share a common treatment facility. The primary objective of this is to optimize the investment required to build treatment infrastructure and also optimize any resources required to maintain the treatment facility. Next, with respect to private desludging operators, as explained in the film, setting the context, Tamil Nadu has a very good market for desludging operators and good quality trucks as well. So we did not want to disrupt the existing market, and we only wanted to streamline the services. So for streamlining the services, the government has issued a government order through which a standard licensing agreement has been issued. And this makes sure that all these operators have to be licensed. That is, all operators across the state have to be licensed. And it also reduces any disincentives for these operators by keeping the licensing fee and also the tipping fee at very minimal rates. So by doing this, we have ensured that we have not impacted the livelihood of these existing operators in the state. In parallel, the government is also exploring customized options through which these desludging operators can provide subsidized rates, services at subsidized rates for the urban poor. So by adopting this cluster model approach and also by leveraging the existing private sector, we have been able to scale at speed the FSM initiatives. Next, as you can see on the slide, in order to operationalize FSM, there are multiple stakeholders involved. And in order to scale, we need to work with each and every one of them. But right now, I'm going to be explaining to you about the private contractors who are involved in construction and treatment of these facilities. So we have conducted a lot of trainings for them on the site, and which has focused on design and also which has focused on quality assurance. So besides training, we are also trying to understand from these private contractors what is that they require in terms of framing model contracts, or we are also trying to understand what is the viable business size required for them to sustain such operations in the field of FSM, and we are trying to address these aspects. Next slide is on inclusion and empowerment. Our work around inclusion is in 3 areas. One is improving access to urban poor, next is in terms of gender, and finally in terms of sanitation worker and safety. So right now I will be highlighting about the occupational health and safety aspect undertaken for sanitation workers. So we have been working on the safety aspect both before as well as COVID. Now all of us know, as a result of COVID, the importance that has been provided to personal protective equipment and how important it is. So another important point that we want to highlight here is that personal protective equipment, as you can see on the screen, in this hierarchy of safety controls, personal protective equipment is the last line of defense. So even before coming to personal protective equipment, there are other safety controls which sanitation workers have to essentially follow. For example, eliminating the risk by using safe tools and equipments, and also by developing safety protocols so workers can adopt safe working methods. Okay, the next thing is the other welfare measures, which the other welfare measures which are going on for sanitation workers is the welfare schemes in terms of conducting health camps or welfare schemes. So the final point I want to make is creating awareness. We all know how important sanitation is, but some of the formative research we did highlighted that no one really wants to talk about sanitation, or sanitation is being ignored because maybe there is a yuck factor associated with it. So instead of scaring people, what we decided to do was we wanted to create a very friendly character called Kaka Man, which is literally shit man, which you can see on the screen. So this Kaka Man's purpose is to take fecal sludge management to the public at scale. So, and to close with, finally, in the same spirit of getting more people comfortable with fecal sludge management, all our treatment facilities, the 61 treatment facilities across Tamil Nadu, have been designed as very attractive spaces that can be used as even resource centers to promote knowledge and also highlight the benefits of fecal sludge management to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Srinidhi. That was a really informative presentation. Now I request my colleague Abhilasha to take over for mentee feedback.
Hello, everyone. We are sharing a link on your chat box right now. You can access that, and you will reach the mentee link, in which we are trying to understand the key ideas that you would like to implement in your area of work from here, from the presentation and also from the film you've watched so far. So each of you will be able to give about 3 responses. So requesting everyone to give your responses. Once you have given your responses, we kindly request you to come back to the Zoom screen so that you can look at the consolidated responses from all the participants. For those of you who have still not accessed the Menti feedback, the link is on the chat box. You just have to click it. It will take you to the Menti screen in which you can give your responses. Thank you for everyone who has participated, requesting the others also to quickly reach the Menti screen using the link in the chat box. Thank you for the overwhelming responses. The Menti poll will end in a few seconds, requesting those who have not given your inputs to do so. Thank you.
Okay, so we will be sharing the final word cloud, interesting as it is, later on. So I'm going to proceed now. Thanks everybody for responding. And as we can see, co-treatment, awareness, cluster approach is some of the things that I'm making out that all of you would like to take back to your states or countries. So because people have asked in the chat box, I'm just saying everything is available on our website, and we're happy to share information, and the details will be shared at the end of the webinar. But for now, I'm going to quickly move on to the panel discussion. And at this stage, I would really like to thank Mr. Harminder Singh, the Additional Chief Secretary, and Madhu Krishna. Thanks to both of you for being here. I know both of you are caught up responding to COVID and the pandemic at hand. So really appreciate you making this time for being with us. And I'm just going to start with Harminder Singh, sir. As it was seen in the video and in the presentation, Tamil Nadu has really been one of the forefronts as far as fecal sludge management or urban sanitation is concerned. You began right in 2014 when the concept was relatively new. And my first question to you is, what prompted the government of Tamil Nadu to recognize the importance and then make investment both in terms of money and time for FSM?
Hi to all the participants. As far as Tamil Nadu is concerned, I think there was a mention earlier that we have a Vision 2023 document prepared under the leadership of the then Chief Minister. And in that, there was a concept of total sanitation for all. We have already, as we have mentioned somewhere in the presentation, nearly 664 urban local bodies, and Tamil Nadu is one of the most urbanized state in the country. We are one of the most urbanized state in the country. Nearly 50% of the population is urbanized, and in another 10-15 years will be reaching around 70%. So we thought it will be very difficult for us to spend huge money in undertaking underground drainage schemes in these 664 urban local bodies. Some of the urban local bodies are small with a population of about 5,000 to 10,000. For taking a underground drainage scheme, which is a very cost-intensive scheme, and the O&M cost is also very high. It will be difficult for small local bodies to sustain this type of capital-intensive schemes. So we were looking for other alternatives, and we could find that the fecal sludge management is one such scheme where we can deliver the same results but at a much lower cost. And we also found that we already have a lot of STPs where the capacity is not fully utilized. So in order to use the nearby local bodies to decant their sludge into these STPs, so we provided, we had a vision of having co-treatment facility in these STPs. So like this, slowly, over a period of last few years, we have moved from the, we have seen the advantages and disadvantages of underground drainage. So we moved to the fecal sludge management concept, and due to the visionary, leadership of the political leadership, and also, strong administrative support, and also, strong support of institutions like yours, and people support, NGOs and other local, service group support. This concept took, firm grounding, and we issued a government order about 1.5 years back, in which we have sanctioned more than 60 such projects all over the state. and we also undertook co-treatment facilities also. Now most of the projects are nearing completion because of the COVID pandemic. We got slowed down in few cases, but we will be completing shortly all these facilities. And as we have mentioned earlier also, construction of facilities is not very great. The other thing is how to implement this concept. Because again, even for the fecal sludge management, the town panchayats, our lowest urban body structure is known as town panchayats. It is about a population of 5,000, 10,000. For them, even FSM also will be a little bit more. So we then tied up a local, near 3, 4, or 5 town panchayats, or even one municipality also. They were tied together, and a cluster approach was developed, which was first of its kind. And as you have mentioned, in the presentation, already there is a setup. So if we disrupt that setup, it will create many more problems. So we integrated that private contractor setup in this, and we have brought in the licensing system. Everything has been finalized and orders have been issued. So I'm very hopeful that this concept will go very well. And by another 4 or 5 years, we will be having total sanitation even in all smaller urban local bodies.
Thank you so much for that, and sir, for very clearly laying out Tamil Nadu's vision, and we hope to see this through. Madhu, my next question is for you. The question to you is, given that Tamil Nadu was the first TSU that you set up for FSM, and subsequently there have been other TSUs, and not only about the TSUs, you were a key and integral part of programming the whole approach initially. So what do you think has gone well? What are the lessons for others, and what would you do differently sitting at this stage of point?
Thanks, Kavita, and thank you and welcome to all the participants. Good afternoon and good evening. Thank you, sir, again. So I think the first and foremost was that there was such a high degree of government willingness to partner with us. In fact, the government of Tamil Nadu invited the Gates Foundation, having seen some of the work globally that we were, propagating, which was all about trying to look and focus at small and medium towns. What really moved me was that the first person from the government of Tamil Nadu who actually spoke to me was the then director of town panchayats, which is kind of, as you know, as sir has said, the smallest urban bodies. And what we had seen globally was that there was a lot of emphasis on infrastructure, on services, etc., that were really directed to the larger cities, which, rightfully enough, also attracted a large amount of population. But really, over the years, 70, 75 years in India, the small and medium-sized cities have not seen that kind of attention. And they seem to have grown organically. Like the town panchayats, really they are, in some other states, they are known as the large dense villages or the census towns, which have become urbanized, are either, on the outskirts of large buildings. So that really impressed me, because that is really where we as a foundation also saw a big gap, especially in the area of fecal sludge management, which, as you know, is kind of the end goal for all of us working in sanitation, which gives us the public health benefits and outcomes that we're looking for. So there was a very committed government, one of the first state governments in India that had actually paid attention to the whole issue of septage management in a very holistic manner. 2, we were invited to come and provide technical support. And 3, the real attention to the smallest urban bodies, realizing that there was never going to be capacity within them or the need for large centralized sewer systems. So I think all of those brought us into Tamil Nadu. There was the second was that there was a real emphasis from the government to us to say, please look at the evidence, build out the evidence and help us define a policy that will align with what is actually happening on the ground. So we were very happy about both those commitments, the willingness to partner, the willingness to look for technical solutions that were contextual and not sort of come back with, okay, we want the most innovative, the most scientific, the best in the world. They were very, very realistic about how they wanted to approach the whole issue of sanitation and also across the value chain and holistically. And then as a foundation, we also find it's very useful to obviously engage with state policymakers and decision makers, but also do what we call experiential learning, meaning working on the ground, showing the solutions. And so, as you know, we picked a few towns and cities, the small 2 town panchayats, as well as working in some of the larger cities to see what is the strategy, what can be the complementarity of decentralized sanitation with to cover the areas that were probably left out by the centralized sewer system. The third impressive thing about Tamil Nadu was they were already way ahead in thinking about how best to use existing infrastructure, such as the co-treatment at at sewage treatment plants. So that was a really innovative way. And in fact, for the foundation globally also, this was something new. We hadn't thought of this, realizing that capacity utilization in India. And when we started investigating, we found that across the country, actually capacity utilization of the STPs was quite low for a variety of reasons. I think it was all of these that drew us there. I think for us, from the very beginning in India, we were very keen that we would look at domestic partners who understood the context, and even within domestic partners to look for largely people who understood the state. So as you know, the TNU SSP team, whereas IIHS is based in Bangalore, but most members of the team are actually from Tamil Nadu, understand the context, understand the language. So I think those were very important. What would we have done differently? I think we would have engaged sooner with the central government, because of course, as you know, as a foundation, we work at all levels, city, state, and national. And we like to create this sort of virtuous cycle where we are learning from the cities, we're informing the states, we're learning from the states, especially on how regulations play a key role, and then take those lessons up to the national and disseminate, and then bring back other state learnings to different cities and states that we work in. But what we would have done is probably started a faster track on the co-treatment, understanding the scientific evidence and creating a strong national blueprint, which is now, I'm happy to say, very much on the national government's agenda. And as a National Fecal Sludge Alliance, we're also putting together some guidelines, but maybe we would have started that earlier, looking at how well Tamil Nadu was already thinking about it. And two, I think we would have started thinking about community engagement and citizen engagement earlier than we did, probably because we do realize that that's a very key focus. Even for getting the desludging, the FSTPs operational, it takes a long time for citizens to engage with a fairly technical issue. So we might have started earlier. As we started developing the technical aspects of the work and building the evidence, we might have started also looking at what it will take to engage citizens on the issue. So I'll stop there. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Madhu. Thanks for laying out about what worked in Tamil Nadu, and also the point on starting some of those things like co-treatment and community engagement quicker. So back to you. The question I have for you in the audience, we have mix from other states in India, and we also have international participants. So what are some of the key lessons that they can draw? What can they adopt? I know we've spoken specifically about things like co-treatment, etc. But so both approaches, but also in terms of processes, what is it do you think can help them start on this journey, or even if quick jumpstart the journey?
Well, we have in India a lot of variation in various states. The circumstances, the niche areas, there are state-specific issues. So, though they may not be able to replicate it totally, but there are many leads which they can take, and they need not do research from the beginning itself. Like we have, as Madhu was mentioning, that it was a in terms of working also, it was a cluster approach. So the basic issue which I think is which is replicable is allowing as many as institutions available to participate in the process. It's a cluster approach in implementation itself. As Madhu was telling, BMGF, IIHS, our government, many other local NGOs, everyone, who showed interest, they all joined together, and everyone was equal player. Normally government tends to take a dominating role, but here we all, I think you will agree that we were having a equal, play field, and people are able to make, suggestions. Normally you feel very hesitant when you work with the government, that if you say something, the officials may get disturbed. But here, like, licensing or even the, O&M issues, clustering issues, whatever suggestion came, all participants, they sat together and they evolved this model. So I think since this model has been evolved now, the many states can use this model for the smaller local bodies. The names may be different, like we say town panchayat. Some people may still continue to name them as municipalities or some other structure. But for smaller urban local bodies, this model is quite useful. And in addition to that, the clustering approach, that involvement, if there's an existing private sector, continuing with the private sector, then bringing structural, integration, so that later there are no other issues. Not only that, in addition to this, the institutional arrangements at state level, like we had a advisory committee in which, the Secretary Urban Development himself sits as and himself chairs the meeting. That, resolves many issues, because sometimes low level if meetings are conducted, Secretary may not be able to appreciate the facts. So sometimes we used to invite finance director also, because our files will go to finance department also. They should also be sensitized, so that there is no delay in clearance by the finance department. So a unified command, a sort of a, whether it's advisory committee or consultative group or high level committee, name can change, can be set up at state level, and then there can be similar structure at district level, so that things are taken up quickly. Land issues, local misunderstandings, because as you were mentioning, in many places we have issue of the next door neighbors making issues, saying that we will not allow such issue in our neighbor. So all those things can be resolved if we have a local district level structure with the collector or DM and SP also being involved. So I think all these things will be quite useful to the other districts and states. And if anyone has any doubt, you are there, we are there. We are always willing to chip in and help each other to establish similar infrastructure in other states.
Thank you, sir, for that. And I just want to take a moment to just underline that absolutely it was a great partnership, is a great partnership. And I'm sure Madhu will concur with me. It was just great to have the government of Tamil Nadu and the foundation and IHS with all the other organizations built. So completely agree to that. Madhu, the question to you again is somewhat similar. I think more about how can, not really what, since you've spoken a little bit about that, but how can the other states learn and also given foundations, international presence, speak a little bit about what could lessons from Tamil Nadu mean for other countries, and again, mechanisms for sharing those.
Sure. So Kavita, thank you. And again, sir, yes, I think that definitely the strong government ownership is a very important key part of working for us as a foundation across a lot of the states that we now work in for on sanitation. So in almost every state we've been invited, or because of people have heard about our work, that we have been invited to come and participate and join this journey. I think very importantly from Tamil Nadu and for the rest of the world, etc., I think the very early recognition that Tamil Nadu being also a water stressed state, very highly urbanized, and of course, this year our World Water Week at Stockholm is also talking a lot about climate change. And of course, the pandemic is showing us that along with the pandemic, the climate change emergency is upon us. So we'll just go from one crisis to the other. And if we ignore that, we are going to face similar emergencies as we go. We have to come together. I believe that FSM is a very, very important pillar for securing water. It's less water intensive. You can give local treated water back to communities. You can save a lot of resources that go in building up large infrastructure projects that are not manageable. I think the cluster approach that Sir spoke about requires actually a lot of collaboration within the government systems. As we know in India, for instance, municipalities often don't talk to each other or don't want to do any partnering. But this kind of cluster approach that is driven from the state government is actually a very, very interesting model. And I'm hoping that other states, I know that Odisha is also thinking about something like this. Why? Because both the administrative capacity of very small town panchayats to manage both the infrastructure and the service provision, because FSM is not an infrastructure project. It's very much about delivering quality services to citizens, which include collection, extraction of waste and safe treatment and disposal. All of that requires some amount of administrative rigor and support, which often the small towns don't have. And that's probably true across all states in India, but also true in other parts of the world. So I think the cluster approach is very important. I think the evidence building and grounding and not sort of just jumping in for solutions is also very important to understand what solutions will work in our context. So the evidence building is important, whereas in some solutions we already know. For instance, we know that co-treatment can be a very viable alternative, so you can also cut short. I think what we did successfully was to create a strong platform for engagement, that is with our partners, working across multiple cities and also working with national and state governments. The formation of a National Fecal Sludge Alliance, which came from the realization that we did need to share knowledge as we were all learning in our small bubbles, I think has proved to be the most valuable part of this work that we've done in India, that this alliance allows partners to share these lessons, to cut short some of the pathways so that people can scale rapidly. I think are some of the very important lessons. Open communication, problem solving, as Sir said, even at the state level, to have this very close partnership, not just among, say, foundation and the government and IHS, but also your NGO partners, implementing partners, and feeding all of that information in and being receptive to it, I think is very important. And then we shouldn't neglect the fact that we all work together also to build capacity across the sector. Even private sector has to understand what are the implications of smaller infrastructure projects. What do FSTPs need? Desludgers have to be regularized, told about how they have to maintain records and come to treatment facilities. This was largely a very unregulated sector. And so to build in all of that capacity building also within administrative officials, obviously city officials, and then, citizen engagement. So I think all of those are really important, because as we worked in Tamil Nadu, we've worked across all of these areas, but worked in partnership with many, many technical partners, and also learned from the other state experiences because of these various platforms that were created along the way. The Alliance, the TSU PMU kind of platform that we have now across all of the states that we work in. So I think those are all important lessons to take back. And I think keeping some broader sort of global earth agendas very much at the center of our focus. So I think that has also been something important to see.
So the last question from us, at least, is, there is COVID and it's like taken over our lives, taken over all our lives, and rightly so, but it's a health crisis. But how do you think and why do you think the government should continue to prioritize FSM and urban sanitation? And what do you see as the link? Because, we are hearing a lot of mixed voices about what funding to increase, to decrease. So just your take on that.
Already we have discussed that it is one of the low cost, with COVID, all the state governments and, all governments suffering, financial stress. So governments will be having less money now to spend on infrastructure, at least for some time. So this is again the most suitable approach, even at this stage, for the smaller urban local bodies. Not only that, we have heard, and we have seen in our state also, the community toilets, where, not the latest one, the old community toilets, where people don't have a household toilet. They have become a source of spread of COVID. So when people go to community toilets, they don't have that precaution, or cleanliness is not to that desired level. So that has become a source of infection. So if you have a household toilet, which will be a great boon in such pandemic times, because that itself is, that will check the spread of COVID or any other such infectious viral disease. Not only that, we have now containment issues, isolation issues. So if you don't have a toilet at home, it will be very difficult to have effective containment, because people have to go for toilets. If they go to toilet, hardly there is a containment, and isolation will be of not much meaning. So I find a lot of usefulness of this project or this approach in these times. Not only that, we have now realized that now we have to arrange for disposal of masks now, disposal of PPEs. So what we are now thinking is attaching a small incinerator along with the this FSM unit, so that these solid waste also can be disposed locally without being carried out to some other bigger municipality. So there are a lot of takeaways even during this COVID-19 pandemic time, and we have found that we were lucky to have adopted this approach much earlier, and it has come very handy to us during this time.
Thank you, sir, for that. Madhu, last question to you. I was going to ask you about lessons for other sectors, but I actually want you to build on what sir has said, because given your other interest on gender, inclusion, health, where do you see the connects? And I really, because I know you will, I really want you to make that pitch for sanitation, even in this times of COVID pandemic.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I think sir has touched on the most important. All pandemics also reveal to us how important, how critical sanitation is. It's the need of the hour. I think the inclusive part is the one that sir has touched on very well, and I will come. Urban poor have been the worst hit by the pandemic. Okay. And they were also, again, like small cities, also the most neglected, especially around policymakers. So definitely the Swachh Bharat mission in India has helped a large portion of people to have individual household toilets. I don't think we should give up on that effort. As sir has said, community and public toilets, they're complementary, but people should have the ability to have their own individual household toilets. There are many partners in India who've come up with innovative designs. A large part also of the community public toilets not being clean is because they don't have good FSM around them. So I think the idea that you need to have safe treatment that kills all pathogen and bacteria is going to be super important from a public health perspective, and the pandemic is bringing that up. I think the whole issue of individual household toilets, and let's not get rid of the thrust on that, even though we may have achieved a lot of open defecation goals based on the access to community and public toilets. And thirdly, I think one important thing that Tamil Nadu has started and many other states are doing is to look at every development program from a gender lens. How can we not only do it from the issue of agent access, but also from agency and control. We need to make sure that women are at the table. 50% of every decision needs to be validated through a gender lens. So they need to be part of every technical committee, evaluation committee, review committee, planning committee, especially in urban. Not only is women's mobility super restricted and their safety, but they are really the harbingers of best economic prosperity. Whichever countries pay attention to that show much better development outcomes for the families as a whole. This is not a disputed fact, but we don't pay enough importance to that, to bringing women not only as beneficiaries but actually agents of their own life, right? So we need to make sure that we have that enabling environment. Many states have now started making sure that women do benefit from the economic opportunities. So as the sanitation value chain expands and includes small, medium cities, we need to ensure that women's rights, women's agency is kept in mind, and urban poor are paid the most attention to, because they are always the most vulnerable when any emergency hits, be it a flood, be it a cyclone, be it a pandemic. They are always at the brunt at the receiving end, right? And in this pandemic, you feel doubly bad because they had no part in it, but were doubly impacted. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Madhu, for that. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madhu. Now, we have had a flood of questions, both on the chat box and on the Q&A thing. And my colleagues have been trying very, very hard to answer all of those. Our commitment is this, that whatever we've answered. The rest of the questions we will answer, because they are more technical and detail oriented. We will answer them as a TSU. I'm going to now hand over to Santosh to maybe ask one question to Sir and one to Madhu, which is broader, which has come from the audience. And again, apologies to everybody to whose question we've not been able to answer. We will get back to you very soon. Over to you, Santosh.
Yes, thank you so much. And there were a lot of questions. I was trying to moderate some of them. But one of the key questions that is being asked is, that is to Sir, ACS Sir. So how are we going to sustain the operations, whether it is vehicle sludge treatment or the STP operations? So that was the question. So would like to get response from Sir on that.
As we have, I have also seen some questions. We have nearly 40 cities in Tamil Nadu where already UGD schemes are under implementation. As we have seen and as we have noted that this, there is some still capacity utilization issues are there. So we have analyzed and found that capacity utilization is because these schemes were earlier devised, only for laying of pipelines and for construction of STPs. The household connections were not provided in the main project. So that is one reason, we have to again dig up roads, again collect money from each resident. So that used to cause delay in bringing the capacity to the optimum level. Now we have come out with the government schemes. Any project under underground drainage will have to have, last mile connectivity. That is, house service connection will also be part and parcel of the original project. So when the STPs are laid, when the distribution pipes are laid, at the same time, household connection pipes will also be laid up to the residents of the each house, and the residents also are provided a facility of payment of the charges in installments. Because suppose if we ask each residents to pay the deposit, and the deposit itself is ranging from 10,000 to 30,000 rupees. So many residents are finding difficult to pay that amount in one go. So we have now made a provision to give them 10 installments. So this has increased our capacity to some extent, and this process is started about 9 months back. So in view of the COVID pandemic, it got slowed down. It will pick up pace, and I'm sure that in future all the UGD schemes will be running quite successfully. And we are also basically this structure of having consultative committee or group in each urban local body where this FSTP has been established is being planned. We have a regional director of municipal administration institution which takes care of the various regions. So they will be heading these institutions so that inter-ULB issues can be sorted out by RDMA. And as we have seen, the current structure, at state level will continue. And financial back support, we have some schemes in which we provide some financial support to each urban local body. So small financial issues can be sorted out. So I'm very sure with this type of various, linkages, integration, we'll be able to sustain FSTP over a longer period of time.
Thank you, sir, for that response. I have a question for Madhu. So this is basically how do we share the key learnings from various states across, and how is this being facilitated for the international audience or other countries, basically. That's the question.
Sure. So as many of you know who are from India, we actually have a National Fecal Sludge Septage Management Alliance, which the Gates Foundation is one member, but it has any player who is working on fecal sludge or is concerned about fecal sludge. Many organizations are part of this alliance. So that is our strongest platform for knowledge sharing, for technical evaluations, for understanding, across. And of course, as I said, we also work with the national government. They recognize the alliance as a strong think tank advisory body, as well as working with various state governments. So that is our sort of strongest platform for knowledge sharing. And we also use it to develop, technical notes, briefs, documents, press articles, sharing all of the experiences and best practices across the various states, across also states where, maybe we are not engaged in, but many other partners in. So we also have the World Bank, UNICEF, anyone who's working in USAID, any organization, regardless of affiliation, can join the alliance based on the fact that they have done some work in the area of FSM and have something to contribute to the alliance. Across a range of issues. So also we have, communications, hardcore communication agencies like BBC Media Action Trust, which has been working with the Alliance on amplifying the work of the Alliance and the work of various partners within it around technical areas of FSM and communications around that. So we have a range of partners in the Alliance that work, both to disseminate knowledge. In addition, we've created a platform called the Training Materials Resource Committee, which is also brings together all the various partners to synthesize their efforts around capacity building, so that everyone's core competency can then actually feed into creating very strong training materials. So then again, that's another collaborative platform. Works closely again, as I said, with both state and national governments. That is housed at the National Institute of Urban Affairs. They act as the secretariat. Similarly, for us, for the Alliance, we are also quite deeply engaged with the International FSM Alliance, so that anything that comes out of India through the Alliance, there's a way to then connect with the International Alliance as well. And of course, we use forums like the World Water Week, etc., to disseminate work from different state partners. So I think that's, and we can, refer you to the Alliance website. We also have now a knowledge portal that will soon be actually housed under the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, where a lot of the technical briefs, etc., are also put from India. So those are various resources that international audiences or other states across India can access. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhu. Thank you so much for that. So now we would like to, there are a lot of questions. Definitely we will respond to them. So there will be a consolidated response to all of this. So may I now request Kavita to kind of close the session.
So thanks, Santosh. I would just like to thank once more to Mr. Harminder Singh and Madhu for taking out the time for being with us. And I would really, really thank everybody, all the participants for this. I know we've been flooded with webinars ever since the lockdown. And I know it's different parts. It's night for some of you, early morning for others. So I really, really thank on behalf of all my team members and behalf of the Government of Tamil Nadu and BNDF for making it to this webinar. And please be in touch with us for anything that you need. So yeah, that's all from my side, unless, I don't know if Madhu or Sir wants to say anything. Otherwise, we'll close the feedback. We'll share with you later. That's not an issue.
Nothing from my side. Thank you, Kavita. Thank you all the participants.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Thanks. Thank you. So thank you, everybody. And I think we can, Santosh, we could end.
Thank you, all the participants. This was really exciting and useful. Thank you.